we found out that an Oklahoma Highway Patrol trooper had made an inquiry on Tim McVeigh within about 90 minutes of the bombing. And so we had one of the people working on our task force, an ATF agent named Mark Mihalik, contact the Highway Patrol and identify the person whose badge number was in that inquiry. Because when you make an inquiry, you have to list an identifier for yourself as a law enforcement official. And so he found out that that badge number belonged to a trooper named Charlie Hanger. And so once we had Hanger's name, we had someone contact him, and they found out that Hanger had been heading south toward Oklahoma City based on a highway patrol dispatcher call for all available troopers to head to Oklahoma City to assist. He had gotten a discontinue. He was about 62 miles north of Oklahoma City, and he turned around in the median on Interstate 35. And as he's starting to head back north, he's passed by this yellow Mercury marquee that's missing its rear license plate. And so he pulls that car over, and the driver gets out of the car, and Hanger has to order him to stay by the door of his car. And so Hanger gets out, tells the guy to back up toward him, and as McVeigh is backing toward him, he notices McVeigh has a bulge under his left jacket. And he reaches out, he grabs it. McVeigh said it's a gun and it's loaded, and Hanger has his gun next to McVeigh's head and says, "So's mine." And he relieved McVeigh of his gun, which was loaded with those rounds that can shoot through an armor vest. And so once he had that gun and a K-bar knife that McVeigh had hidden on his person, he took McVeigh into custody and took him to the Noble County Jail in Perry, Oklahoma. And so our investigator asked Hanger what happened to him. And he said, "I don't know. He may still be in custody, he may not." And so one of our investigators contacted Sheriff Jerry Cook and talked to him, and he said, "Well, McVeigh's in custody, but he's going to be released within probably an hour." And so we put a federal hold on him. And at that point, myself and several other agents got into a helicopter and flew up to Perry. And when we got up there, myself and another agent interviewed the different people that had been in McVeigh's cell. We were asking him questions, has McVeigh said anything? Did he comment about the bombing at all, anything of that nature? And they said no, he was just attentive to the radio that was giving updates on what was going on with the bombing investigation. And then finally, McVeigh was brought in to an office that Sheriff Cook gave us. And I asked McVeigh, I said, "Do you know why we're here?" And he said, "That thing in Oklahoma City, I guess." And I said, "What do you mean by that?" And he said, "That bombing. I want an attorney." But one of the really beneficial things of Trooper Hanger taking him into custody was the fact that when they lodged him in the Noble County Jail, they collected all his clothing and put it in paper bags. Well, when we sent that clothing back to the FBI laboratory and they did a chemical analysis test on the clothing, they determined that he was basically the explosive equivalent of a powdered sugar donut. He had PETN all over his clothing. 5 years after the bombing, I brought my wife and children to the dedication ceremony of the memorial. And we could have gone in with Clinton, but we chose to go in with the victims. And I wasn't prepared for the emotional impact that hit me when we walked in there and I saw the people who had lost kids putting stuffed animals and flowers on the little seats. There's big seats for adults and little seats for the kids. And when they went in there and put the stuffed animals and the flowers on the little seats, I couldn't talk. I said, "I can't talk," and I just kind of walked on the hill by myself for a few minutes until I kind of composed myself. But it was so sad, what happened with those kids. it is still the defining moment in Oklahoma City. When you try to talk about when something happened, let's see, that was before the bombing, that was after the bombing. It's a measure of time like BC and AD. And, throughout the country, news stories went in different directions, and they didn't keep having that. But in Oklahoma City, they did.